Hello and welcome back to another lesson in factoring polynomials. This is part 2 of the factoring polynomials where the leading term has a 1x squared. So we're going to continue with a few more examples just so you can get some extra practice before you start homework. If you kind of got the hang of it, feel free to skip this and just do the assignment. If you need more help on figuring out the riddle, please see your tutor or teacher, and they can definitely help you get some problems so that way you can have more practice. All right, so again, we'll start with our middle term, which is 2x, and we'll do our leading times our last, which is x squared times negative 15, and that'll go here. So again, I'm going to think of two numbers that multiply to get me negative 15, but add to get me 2. Of course, x times x will get me x squared. Combining like terms will get me x. So what are two numbers that we can think of for negative 15 that multiply to get me negative 15, but add to get me 2? There's 1 and 15. One of these have to be negative. There's no 2, about 3 and 5. One of them has to be negative. Right. So out of these numbers, which one do you think will kind of give me a sum, or if I put them together, will get me 2? Right, 5 and negative 3. So remember, it doesn't matter where I put this 5 or negative 3. I could put it here, or I could put it there. Let's put our leading term in, our last term. And now we're going to figure out what the GCF is for every column and every row. What's the GCF between x squared and 5x? X. What's the GCF between 3 and 15? Like, what's the number I could divide out of 3 and 15? 3. What's a letter or variable that they have in common? These two, what multiple are they both of? What number could I divide out of each 5 and 15? Now, the moment of truth comes of whether or not this 5 should be a negative or this 3 should be a negative. Which do you think? One of them has to be a negative to get me negative 15. Which one do you think? A negative on the 3, right? Because there are, if I multiply negative 3 times x, I get negative 3x. Negative 3 times 5, I get negative 15. Also see they have a negative in common. I could have taken that out when I took out the GCF. Let's try another one. Oh, by the way, those are our binomials, x plus 5 and x minus 3. All right, again, we'll start with our middle term. We'll multiply our leading times our last. What two numbers can you think of that if you multiply them to get 8, they'll add to get negative 6? So I always like to just start by writing out positive 8 I'm trying to get at. So it could be 2 and 4, negative 2, negative 4. It could be 1 and 8, or negative 1, negative 8. Which one of these do you think will add to get me a negative 6? Right. Negative 4, negative 2. And it doesn't matter where I put them in the box, whether I put the negative 2 here or the negative 4 there. Backwards, negative 4 here and a negative 2 there. I'm going to put my leading, my last, and what do they have in common? Well, what do these two have in common? X. What do these two have in common? They're both multiples of 4. What do these two have in common? X. And what do these two have in common? What are they both a multiple of? 2. Now comes the moment of truth of whether I should put one or both be negative on the 2 and then on the 4. Do you think I should put it on the 4, on the 2, or both? Both. You're right. Reason why? Because a negative times a negative will get me a positive 8. And negative 4 times x will get me a negative 4x. Negative 2 times x will get me a negative 2x. Our binomials are x minus 4, and x minus 2. Let's try another one. My middle term is negative 8x. My last term is, and my first term is negative 20x squared. What two numbers do you think, if you multiply them together, you'll get a negative 20, add to get me a negative 8? So again, just list out, I'm doing my list a little differently now. Negative 1, 20, 1, negative 20, 2, and negative 10, and 10, negative 2, and 4, 5, or negative 4, positive 5. So which of these pairs will add to get me a negative 8? You're right, negative 10 and 2. So again, it doesn't matter where I put them. I'll put my leading, my last. What do these two have in common? Great. What do these two have in common? What could I divide out of 2 and 20? Awesome. What do these two have in common? Awesome. And what do these two have in common? What I divide out of 10 and 20? 10. Now it becomes the moment of truth again. Where should I put the negative? Should I put it on the 2, on the 10, or both? I should put it on the 10 because if you notice, they also have in this row a negative in common. And if I put a negative here, I'll get a negative 10x. I'll get a negative 20. My answer is x minus 10 and x plus 2. And that's all that is all of the examples I have for you today. If you need additional help, like I said, please talk to your tutors, talk to your teachers, email them, text them, get in contact with them, get them into the Learning Center. And I feel like now you have sufficient enough practice to do your assignments. If you don't know your times tables, use your times table sheet. This list if you're having trouble with the riddle. And as always, happy math problem solving.